Good evening, guys, and welcome back to Kyler Speaks episode number 11. This shit is growing. It's getting stronger. Make sure you like and subscribe. A lot of you that watch are not subscribed. What is going on? Subscribe. I promise you, I won't quit, and I will only continue to get better. Support me, and it will come back tenfold. Tenfold. Okay. Talking about a couple things today. We're going to keep it short. We're going to keep it sweet. Okay, kids? Firstly, I just want to say this podcast is meant to be mine. I'm sharing me with the world, right? Whether or not they want to listen, that's totally up to the world. I can't control that. All I can do is be as open, honest, and vulnerable as possible. And whether or not the world decides that I'm relevant, it's not up for me to have any decision making. I can't decide that. That's you guys. So all I'm going to do is continue to put one foot in front of the other and slowly but surely get better. With each and every single video, I will continue to get better. I never mention to anyone what I'm doing, that I'm creating this. I want people to find me organically. I don't want to boost it. And I don't want any sympathy views. I want views from actual people that look at my thumbnails and click on the videos and end up supporting me organically. That's what I want. But it's funny how whenever you mention to someone else that you're trying to make YouTube videos, everyone wants to give you their own 2 cents. You should do this, you should do that. Bitch, you do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to compromise. I want to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Speaking of whatever I want to talk about, today we are going to be discussing criminality. Criminality, and a lot of people think about criminals, of course, some more than others, depending on which side of the train tracks you live on. But most people don't consider exactly how they got there. And furthermore, why are most criminals dumb as fuck? Of course, it comes down to necessity and desperation. But what if there were very, very strategic criminals that were very, very intelligent and exceptionally calculated? How would they operate in comparison to just the motherfucker that doesn't care and knows that he will inevitably one day get caught and doesn't fear a consequence? Those people are morons. They deserve the Darwin Award. And most of them, if we're lucky, end up getting it one way or another because they have something wrong with them mentally. But the exceptionally brilliant ones, and I would have to think that the majority of the ones that are very, very good at mischievous criminal things, they end up going to work for Wall Street or they become politicians and they bend the rules around what they're doing with legislation. They make things legal. I'm talking about the people that are bank robbers, the people that are counterfeiters. I just watched a very, very cool podcast. I love the Matthew Cox podcast, True Crime. He was a mortgage broker that ended up completely bending the rules, and he was on the run for a very, very long time. One of America's most wanted, or FBI's most wanted, for a long time. He would change his identity to every single time he went to a new location. He ended up doing the majority of his mortgage schemes in Ybor City, and he did so much damage to their housing market that he essentially made it one of the top 10 booming places to buy a house, and it was all based on him. Ybor City in Florida. This was, I believe, early 2000s, but Matthew Cox is brilliant. He's brilliant, and he would have never gotten caught if he could have kept his mouth shut. But he fell in love with someone, thought he could trust her, and at the end of the day, you can't trust women. Not with a secret. You cannot trust a woman with a secret. And for the guys listening, you know. Trust me, you know. What he was doing was he was creating synthetic identities. So he needed all of the real information. It's not as if he was faking these things. He was figuring out ways to get a license, a real state issued driver's license, a way to get a social security number given to him, assigned to him, or more so to his synthetic person. It's really fascinating how he did that. Was he desperate? Yeah, but he just so happens to be very intelligent. He was speaking to someone on his podcast, this guy, Matthew Cox. I highly suggest you look into it. He's amazing. For the record, I wish he wouldn't talk about just criminality and criminals in prison. Yeah, I get it. That's your stick. That's your niche. But we know you now. You can talk to other people. You could talk to actors. You could talk to whatever fascinates you. That's what I love about Joe Rogan. If Joe Rogan only spoke to MMA fighters all fucking day, all day, every day, I would blow my brains out. I don't want to hear that. It's cool occasionally. I want to be introduced to things I didn't know that I liked. I think that's what makes him such a giant within the podcast world. He's one of the founding fathers of it, essentially, but more so, he just talks about whatever the fuck fascinates him. He's kind of losing that, unfortunately, or at least it seems like it. Then again, people have movies to sell and he has bills to pay, so I get it. I don't ever want to see him become Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon or any name of Jimmy Donaldson. I don't want to see that shit. I don't want Joe Rogan to become a Mr. Beast. I want Joe Rogan to remain organic and pure and genuinely curious. That's what I say when I mean I don't want another motherfucker telling me how to run my channel because it's mine. I don't care. My Pillow could say, I will give you $1,000,000, and I would tell them no. I would love $1,000,000, but I would tell them no. Not this. This is mine. This is mine. It almost reminds me of when I was younger. I loved Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and they were like my best friends. Very lonely childhood. But I collected Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I wouldn't even play with them. I would just collect them and watch them. It's kind of strange in hindsight. But that collection now is worth a lot of money. A lot of money. I wouldn't sell them for all the money in the world. That cannot be touched because that means something to me. That's my childhood. I'm not giving that up for any amount of money. You can't buy that from me for any amount of money. I will put my foot down. And that's how I feel about this YouTube channel. You can't fucking buy this. This is mine. This belongs to me. If you want to run advertisements all day and rake in buku bucks and give out money and all this stuff, which nothing's wrong with giving out money, but why are you doing that? I get it. You want eyeballs, the most sensationalistic things, the most epic endeavors always get the most eyeballs. That's cool. This isn't what this channel is. That is not this. This is more so me speaking. Just speaking. A lot of people need to hear things from others, even if it's online. A lot of people don't have genuine connections with anyone. They eat, they work, they sleep, they maybe go to school. They're just lonely. I know I felt that way. This is for you guys. This is not so someone can sell you a VPN. There's free VPNs. If you guys want to watch pornography, there's free VPNs. You don't need to get NordVPN or whatever. Watch 10 years from now, that's my sponsor. It wouldn't happen unless something crazy happened where you need a VPN that wasn't free. But for now, no. You cannot buy me. Not for sale. Sorry. Getting back to talking about criminality and criminals. So he had on someone, Matthew Cox, the guy I was speaking about earlier, had on someone that was counterfeiting money. And it just sucks that the majority of these people are just desperate little trailer park broke members of our society. I mean, that really sucks, but it's unfortunate that we can't see someone attempt to do something like counterfeiting and be very, very calculated and strategic about it with unlimited funds. I mean, an organization that has, I don't know, probably 20, $30 million to put into that endeavor up front. If they have that type of upfront capital, I think you could do some real damage. Like you put in real chemists that can create the compounds necessary to do whatever it is you have to do in order to counterfeit. Instead, you have some guy that came from a trailer park ripping Bible pages out of every single Bible um, in every single, he'd go to every single Barnes and Noble and he would tear, I don't know, 2 to 10 pages out of the back of Bibles, the empty pages that you're supposed to write notes on, or for some people, roll joints with. He took those out and was creating money, which that within itself is kind of brilliant, almost by accident. But I want there to be, I don't want there to be this. I think it'd be interesting if there was people that were actually brilliant because I watched that. And that guy, don't get me wrong, he's crafty, if you will, but he was a fucking drug addict. And then there's this guy named Art Williams that was just on Danny Jones. So funny enough, I watched the other one on the Matthew Cox True Crime podcast last night. Again, I watched it 5 or 6 times because it's kind of fascinating. Then today, it just so happens that, quote unquote, one of the best counterfeiters, this guy named Art, was on the Danny Jones podcast. He was just on it. This is a brand new episode, so it's kind of funny how that works. But I'm looking at this guy, thinking to myself, this guy's also a moron. It's just so damning that a lot of these criminals, and I get it, their backs up against the wall, they're in nothing but pure desperation and fear, and they need to figure something out, whatever motivates them, whether it be a drug addiction or needing to pay the bills or feed your family, support your children, your baby's mama's mama, whatever the case may be for that specific person, that situation. It's just fascinating how it's never someone intelligent, someone with money already that is extremely intelligent, never attempts to do these little petty things and scale it to massive proportions. They easily could. All it would take is money, money and resource. We could do anything we put our minds to if we have enough money and resource. Think about it. We're attempting to go to Mars. We're attempting to go to the moon, which, funny enough, I helped work on that. Briefly, I'll talk about it. So the Artemis 2, it was really cool. I can't say too much, but it was really fascinating for those of you that know my story. If not, then I believe it's episode number 8, where I went to the dentist in order to get a root canal and came back. And while I was high on hydrocodone, I spoke about what I do for a living and I tied it into Bob Lazar and Area 51. It has to do with Lockheed Martin. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to hear more, go look at that podcast. But I don't think, and for the record, when it comes to criminals, yeah, sure. Only the dumb ones get caught. So there's probably someone in, who knows, Mexico City or New York or maybe a place in Massachusetts that no one's ever heard of, or Arkansas, that is absolutely killing the game as far as criminal activity is concerned. And they're completely under the radar. I want to see those people succeed. I don't want you to be a moron and get away with anything. I want competence to rule, even in the world of slimeball criminals. I think that that is just a really interesting concept. It's a really interesting concept when very, very intelligent people with high amounts of resource go into something that's unregulated and just boom it. I don't know too much about bootlegging, but I can only imagine that if you trace that back to the people that were really changing and influencing that revolution back when they banned alcohol, I bet you it came back to some rich motherfucker that was very smart. Guarantee it. That's the thing about criminals is you only get to hear from the ones that get caught. And a lot of people can't keep their fucking mouth shut. That's the very, very old saying. Do you know how two people can keep a secret if one of them is dead? That's the only way you can keep a secret. That's it. Because most people can't fucking shut their mouths. Can't shut their mouths. It's kind of the way it goes, you know? Then again, as humans, no matter how smart you may think you are, a lot of people want credibility for what they do, even if it's the shittiest things. Like, look at, so I'm from Kansas, believe it or not. This is not Miami, although it sort of looks like it um, until you actually look out the window. But yeah, this is not Brickell. We had a killer named BTK in the, what, 80s, 90s, I believe. He's a serial killer. And he basically got away with it. And then he had a reemergence where he was toying with the press and sent back in something to the local news saying, I'm back. Because he wanted to instill fear in people once again. It had been so many years. What he didn't realize, because he's a fucking moron, is that they could determine where that piece of paper was printed. And so they pulled it up and they're like, okay, this was printed on this computer using the login code Dennis Rader. You fucking moron. Like, he's so stupid. He could have gotten away with it, but he just couldn't keep his mouth shut. A little sadistic. Who knows? He's probably fucked up as a kid. I don't know much about him. I try not to think about stupid ass things like that. But either way, he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He could have gotten away with it. That's crazy to me. Just flowed off into nothing, bro. Why do you need recognition for something? That's why I respect an artist or artists no one knows, like Banksy. Banksy just does his thing. He says something. He expresses himself through his artwork to the world, privately, anonymously, and then floats back off and lives a very normal life, maybe, unless he's part of a rock band. Who knows? Or he's some crazy, he or she, who knows? One of the smartest things that she could have done in order to continue to remain anonymous is kind of hint towards the fact that she isn't a girl. Whenever people think of Banksy, they think of a man, but it very might well be a female. Who knows? What I respect about Banksy is that he needs no recognition for his work. Maybe that'll change in the future. It would be really magical if he were to keep that, he or she. See, I even do it my fucking self. That would be brilliant. That'd be brilliant for Banksy to be a female this entire time. Whoever that person is, it'd be really magical and really brilliant to keep it anonymous forever. To not tell anyone. Or maybe you put something in a time capsule that, or post a video or something that will only come out 10 years after you're dead. Who knows? But for Banksy to never get recognition and not tell a soul, including his family, his or her family, whoever, that would be truly special and unique. That would be cool. Or if you put all the Banksys together, they spell out something like written on the back in invisible ink is one letter. And eventually, when Elon Musk owns half of the world, he decides he's bored one day and buys all of the Banksys, putting them together, realizes that there's invisible ink with one and exactly one letter on the back of each and every Banksy, and then puts it into AI and creates, or rather comprises, a bunch of random letter generators that eventually form a name, and you find out exactly who Banksy is. Lo and behold, she's been gone for 15 years. Who knows? That'd be really epic. Doubt that's going to happen. Elon Musk could never have a Banksy. Too cheap. I don't think he concerns himself with art too much. He's very, very scientifically based, and although he does have a love for art, at least to literature, he has to because of his fascination as a child with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the novel. But yeah, that was my take on Criminals today. I know that this wasn't some highly orchestrated, crazily edited thing. This is not going to go viral on YouTube. However, I think it's really cool to at least speak to you guys a couple times a week, as much as I can. I have a full-time job. This is my passion. So I do this for fun. I definitely wanted to put something out, and who knows? Maybe there's criminals all around you that simply could keep their mouth shut and always fly right under the radar. Maybe they're your neighbor. Maybe they're someone you look up to that live a double the lifestyle. But I guarantee you the majority of them are just stupid as fuck and they're rotting in prison. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe. You know, I gained a subscriber yesterday and I was freaking out. That meant the world to me. I was like, holy shit, I have a subscriber. That's amazing. Every subscriber I get, I'm just overjoyed for it. I really, really appreciate it. So stay classy, San Diego, and I will see you on the next episode. La-di-da-di-da.